Hi, I am Molly Swanhorst. I am a Wisconsin-based educator, and I'm here with Brittany Brazzel, who is a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging coordinator for a district here in Wisconsin. And she has an amazing story of some change that she made in her district around hate speech. And I would love to hear you kind of share that story with our audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So kind of a little bit about me. I was a high school social studies teacher for 9 years, 9-12, taught multiple different courses and classes. And then I left K-12 to go pursue really some personal growth opportunities specific to anti-racist education and um, adult and teacher professional development. And so I spent a couple years in the nonprofit sector. And as much as I loved that work and loved doing it, I'm a realist, and so I understood that the real true work happens in K-12 schools, and so I needed to get back. And so that's how I landed in my current role as the DEIB coordinator for the district. And one of the big things about the current district I'm in was kind of hate speech was on the rise, particularly students were getting information from the internet, hearing things from the internet, and kind of bringing it into the schools. And so for a really long time where we were very reactive about it. We knew that it was coming, it was about to happen, but we wanted to flip from reactive to proactive. And so we started to kind of just get real into the nitty gritty of like what can we do. And so that's kind of been my passion work, if you will, for really like the last 2 years specifically and dedicated. But really, as we know, as educators, it's as soon as you step into any educational role, like you're gonna have to combat it at some point.
Yep. Yeah. So as far as what you and kind of your district did, what do you say was kind of your like starting point? It's a really big issue. It feels really overwhelming, especially for those of us where that kind of comes with the context in which we teach. So how did you go about navigating picking your kind of like starting point, your leverage point, your tactics?
Yeah. So we knew we had a problem. So that I think is our
Mm,
first kind of step was just getting everybody consistently to understand that yes, this is the problem.
mm,
It's not, a small group of students, it's not one building, like this is widespread. So really getting everybody to just get into that philosophy of like we have to do something to fix this problem. We know it's that problem. From there we started to really have some conversations of like, well, how do we make this consistent? How do we make sure that we're delivering the message uh, consistently across the district with every single student? And so from there, and kind of figuring out, okay, what's our path towards changing this outcome? We really decided that we wanted to have a foundational tool that everybody could use, students, staff, families, everybody was going to know what this tool was. And we wanted it to be a tool that was practical and extremely usable, again, across the district. So a kindergartner could access it, a senior could access it, families could access it. Like we wanted to make sure. And so we used it was teaching tolerance at the time, had developed kind of some frameworks and some sentence stems for what to say kind of in the moment. And so we decided, we're not going to rebuild the wheel. It's built for us. We're
yeah.
just going to make it our own.
Yeah.
And so that became our consistent tool. And we decided that we were going to start with staff first to make sure that all staff understood that like this is the expectation moving forward. We are going to start addressing this language, these behaviors in the moment. Here's a tool. We'll train you on the tool, why we picked this tool, how to use this tool. But that is going to be kind of our rock, if you will. So we started with staff. We got everybody really acclimated with the tool, how to use it, and then again that expectation of if you hear something, you see something, you're going to say something in the moment. And we learned pretty quickly that a lot of staff were nervous. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing. I
Yes.
don't know if kids are going to come back at me. Like, I'm very nervous about doing this. And so we kind of had to slow our professional development down a little bit to really make sure that staff felt supported and confident. And so we really let them know, like, yeah, you probably will say the wrong thing at some point, right? Like
Yeah.
that's absolutely we're not perfect. But we really wanted to deliver as an administrative team this message of like we are at the very least want you to just interrupt it. We
Yeah.
want you may do it in the moment, you may, follow and circle back up with the kid later, but just don't let it disappear because
Yeah.
we know that that is causing way more harm than anything that might come of you speaking up in that moment.
Sure.
So that was key. And then from there, we really went to students. Hey,
Yeah.
students, we're rolling this out. Your staff's been trained. This is our expectation now. Is in the spaces where there are no adults, you're still going to hear it. So now it's on you guys. So now we've got this kind of collective collaboration to say
Yeah.
we're going to stop this, which was really awesome. And then I think really the biggest star is our signage. We have signage everywhere. It's again, it's just a visual reminder of like we are doing something. And so just from that kind of initial work, we've now started to branch off to like, okay, when the incident happens, how are we talking to kids? How are we making sure that they're learning and not
Mm,
just being consequenced?
mm,
And then how do we repair the harm if there were other kids involved or if it was said, in an open classroom? How do we work through that? But really, the big thing is just consistently every adult in the building is the expectation of you're going to try to say something, you're going to address something. And then with the students, we're starting to build that capacity in them too. And so we really leverage key organizations. We've got a lot of strong clubs. We started with the clubs. We've got a sports kind of leadership advocacy group. We went and talked to them and said, you're the leaders of our teams, be the leaders in our buildings. Here's what you can do. We are talking to K-12. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
We've got advisory K-12. Every advisory has dedicated lessons specifically to this. What can kids do? How can they report? We're starting to change the way we write referrals because of this. Again, because we want to be able to pull data and track. Like, are we doing any better? And so really, it was just that initial work of like, we know it's a problem, we have a tool, and from there, it just like started to
Yeah.
snowball.
Yeah.
And it's a collective thing. Like this isn't coming top down. This isn't bottom up. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
And I think, it took some years to get that culture, but now it's here. And we can just expand and build on it. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
When you came and spoke to my school about kind of enacting sort of a similar situation, or at least helping us feel inspired, like that was something we could tackle, one of the things I heard my coworkers say was it was really helpful to hear how you were using structures already in place to make that change. And like you said earlier, you weren't rebuilding the wheel, you weren't
Mhm.
reinventing anything, you were simply just identifying that problem, you were identifying a possible solution, and you were committed to doing that. I think one of the things that definitely stands in the way for teachers, especially in again contexts or settings where hate speech might feel prevalent or might be a part of kind of the fabric or like the communities that they teach in.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you were able to get the community on board? What kind of tactics did you take for getting community support for that?
Yeah, and I think that's really huge too because I don't think we would be as successful if we had just kept it with the schools. And so we were really intentional about making sure we want to branch out to let family know. So we've kind of hit it from a two-prong approach. First, it just came from the school of like, here's this tool, here's our expectation for staff and kids. And also, we're building lessons around it. We're talking about it. You're going to see signage. Here's how you could use the tool, in your spaces, and so we kind of just held a lot of community learning sessions. Then we started to partner we have an SRO in our district. And so we started to partner with them specifically about internet safety. Because again, for us in our community, a lot of the stuff that the kids are bringing into the school is coming from their internet usage. So I thought, okay, they're going to hear it from us in the school. They're going to maybe hear it from their kids. But if we can get the SRO and our police department involved with helping, like, nope, this is a serious problem. Like, there's a lot of things happening on the internet that we just don't know about. So here's how you can set time limits. Here's how you can track your student. Here's how you can help develop digital citizenship. And so we're getting it from our community police, the school, the kids in our school, and it's starting to kind of just ripple out.
Yeah.
Um, so that it really is this culture of like it's gonna take all of us. So let's all get on board to try to solve it. Because I'll often ask, like, wouldn't it be nice if we could just walk into a space and not even have to worry about any hate speech or horrific language or harmful language? Like, wouldn't that be nice? And
Yeah.
of course, everybody's going to be like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of lean into, yeah, but that's going to take a lot of work to get to that place. So it really is. It is a full community
Sure.
endeavor. It wouldn't have worked if it was just the school.
Yeah. As we're kind of ending our time together here, what would you say would be your biggest piece of advice for someone who is maybe a classroom teacher? Maybe they're not at the district level like you are. What would you say as far as a classroom teacher who maybe wants to help spark that change or make that change? What would you say is a good first step?
Absolutely. I think the key is to know that your idea, your thought, your action, whatever it may be, it's the right thing to do. So go do it, right? You don't need permission to do what's right and good for kids.
Mm,
If you got to ask for that or beg for that, that's a different conversation. But if you know you want to do something and it's good and it's right by kids, go do it. There is a lot of collective power in the mass of classroom teachers,
mm,
right? Like you start as yourself, you've got an idea, then you've got maybe your content folks or your PLC group, and then it grows there, and then maybe, okay, now we're talking grade level, and then it grows there, and before you know it, you've like infiltrated the entire building and you've sought no permission, right? You've
yeah,
just done it because it's good and right. And because of that, you've got that buy-in because it's like we just know it's good and right, we're going to just do it. So my biggest thing is like you know what's best for your kids. You're in the trenches every day, you're talking to them, working with them. You know what's best for them, so go do it. Don't be
yeah,
afraid to do what's good and right for kids.
yeah,
And you have a lot of influence and a lot of power, even if it's in your own classroom.
yeah,
That's 25 to 30 kids that you just impacted. And
yeah,
so again, that ripples out because the kids talk like hello, they get out there and talk like it spreads. So don't
yeah,
ever feel like you can't do it, right?
yeah,
You can always do something.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciated getting to hear your talk at our school, and I'm really excited that other people are going to get to hear just the inspiring and how possible it is to kind of get into this work, knowing that it's the right thing, and then knowing that the next best step is always just the next right thing to do. That's really awesome.
Correct.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Thanks so much, Brittany.